something I just picked up and I am super excited to show you guys. It is a McCulloch 250. Probably one of the nicest vintage saws I've ever seen. Definitely I've ever picked up and have in my shop. That is for sure. This thing is in absolutely almost new condition. I picked it up from a guy on Craigslist. I had to sell a few things to get it. And funny thing is by the time I sold what I needed to go buy the saw, he had dropped his price by half. Told me he didn't have a whole lot of interest in the saw. I mean, a saw like this takes a specific buyer, somebody that likes McCullochs or likes vintage saws. It just doesn't compare with what you can buy out in the market now. So, you know, I was happy to take it off his hands for half of what he had it listed for. Brief history on these saws. This is a McCulloch 250. They also made a Super, and the Super was 87 cc's. This particular saw, being the 250, is 80 cc's. They are not a saw that spins at high RPM. They are pretty slow, but they've got a ton of torque. They are also a very heavy saw. They're probably, I don't know, a good 50% heavier, at least 40, than a comparable saw. I'll try and comp it out with a 1010. But the story I got from the guy when I picked up the saw is he got it from an estate, and the estate had it in storage for about 25-30 years. He knocked off a little dust, put some fuel in it, and fired right up. I'll turn it around for you so you can see the other side. Like I said, these are not a light saw, but I'm just absolutely blown away by the condition of this saw. There's your muffler, if you want to call it that. Again, that's, if you're familiar with Homelight XLs, very similar to their early model mufflers. I mean, look at these bar studs. They still have paint in the threads. It's just absolutely insane. This is just, it's got to be a very, very low hour saw. And the reason I say that, well, the bar studs still have paint on them. A saw like this, 60 years old, would have some wear on the handle back here. Probably not much paint at all, to be honest with you. Definitely have some wear on the bar side here. This is the side of the saw that gets most of the abuse. And these saws, I'm kind of bummed about it, but these saws used to come with just a wicked looking set of dogs on them. This one didn't, obviously, but when you look at the fact that it doesn't have dogs, look at the front of this. There's just no wear. You would definitely see wear down here on the bottom and on the sides, if not on the front as well, and you just don't see it. And then over here on the starter side, there's just no wear. This is just my opinion. I mean, look at the bolts. There's still paint on the bolts. I mean, no screwdriver has ever touched these. It's just been sitting. But if I had to guess, I would say that the bar and chain were removed and this thing was just stored as a power head. Because a lot of the marks that you see on here are not from typical use out in the woods, cutting firewood or anything like that. They're more from just moving the saw around in storage. Original bar and chain. This is paint from the factory up here. It's on both sides, which again alludes to the fact that it's a low hour saw. You got paint on the bar still after 60 years. And then let me show you what I think is just mind-boggling to me, blew me away. Get underneath the hood here. The filter, no, just kidding. Although that is the original filter. It's in good shape. This right here, that right there is just mind-blowing to me. It is so clean in here, you could eat off of it. It's just crazy. Brief history about the carbs on these 250s. The early models came with a Walboro McCulloch carb called a flatback, I guess, from what I read. And they were a little bit problematic, hard to find parts for. This is not that. This is a Tillotson HL, which is the preferred carb for these 250s. Fairly easy to find parts for still, from what I understand. But just the condition of this thing, it's unreal. Fuel lines are still pliable. I messed around with them. Good shape. All the gaskets are in good shape. Here's your idle. Back here on the back, this is a manual oiler on this side. And then over here, there you go. That's your choke. And then just flip it off. Just turn it to the side. All right at your fingertips, as it should be. So, pretty cool. I just can't get over how clean it is in here. Just blows me away. The saw is just, like I said, it's a low hour saw. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no saw. I mean, it shows less wear and tear on it than saws I've had for 10, 15 years, and I bought brand new. It's just crazy. So I'm gonna take this thing out and fire it up for you, let you hear it run, because it sounds glorious, of course. I love these old Macs. But I want to show you real quick what it looks like up against the 1010. So let me spin this around, grab the 1010, and so you can see the difference. Here's the 1010. Not a small saw, not a big saw, but not a small saw. But it sure looks like it up against the 250. 250 just dominates over the 1010. And I love the 1010, don't get me wrong, that's a great saw. But size-wise, it's just crazy. So, just thought I'd show that to you before we go out and fire them up. Both great saws, absolutely great. I love the 1010. And we'll go fire up the 250 so you can hear it. Let's see if we can get this thing to pop off. Last time I started it, one pull. So we'll see what we got here. Well, that was short-lived. As you can probably tell, I ran out of fuel. I'm not too happy about that, but I'm sure my neighbors are. Anyway, you know I'm gonna get it in some big wood eventually, but it was nice to see it cut. That's factory chain. I haven't touched that thing at all. So I'll get it in, get the chain sharpened, and we'll get it into some bigger wood eventually. You know I'm going to do that. It's just inevitable. But saw sounded great, worked well, and I'm happy to have it in the shop. So thanks again for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one.